thrown out at 17 with just $12. Now my family wants to move into my $750,000 home after years of ignoring me when I was 17. My dad told me something I'll never forget. "You're not built for success." He didn't shout it in anger. He said it the way someone might comment on the weather, calm, certain, final. He even said it like he thought he was doing me a favor. "The sooner you accept your place in this family," he continued, not even looking up from his newspaper, "the easier things will be for everyone. Your brother's the heir, you're just the extra." That sentence carved itself into me like a scar. From that moment on, I stopped being a person in my house. I became a background character in their story. My older brother Nathan was the golden boy, varsity athlete, honor roll student, dad's pride and joy. His bedroom had a lake view, he got a brand new car at 16, and even when he messed up, Dad called him champ. Me, I was the one who got his old clothes, constant suspicion, and endless lectures about being grateful. For a long time, I thought I was the problem. So I worked harder. I got a job at 15, kept decent grades, even helped Nathan with math when he started falling behind. But nothing ever changed. If I slept in on Sundays after a late diner shift, Mom called me lazy. If I mentioned wanting to go to culinary school instead of a university, Dad said I lacked ambition. And Nathan? He'd just smirk while they tore into me like my pain was his entertainment. Then came the summer before my senior year, the night that changed everything. Nathan crashed his car after a party, completely totaled it while driving drunk. I was the one who found him in the garage, blood on his forehead, crying and begging me not to tell our parents. And I didn't. I told them I'd taken the car without asking. That I panicked and ran after the crash. I thought maybe, finally, they'd see I was loyal, that I was worth something. Instead, my dad just pointed at the door and said, "Pack your things, you've embarrassed this family enough." That night, I slept in a bus stop 2 blocks away. The next morning, I came back hoping to grab my school backpack, only to find a trash bag with my clothes sitting on the porch and a note taped to it. "You're on your own now. Learn something from this. No one called, no one checked if I was alive." Mom told people at church I'd run away because I was rebellious. Nathan posted vacation photos from Florida 2 weeks later like nothing had happened. I survived working back-to-back shifts at a 24-hour convenience store, sleeping on cardboard in the stockroom when the manager wasn't around. The worst part wasn't hunger or exhaustion, it was the silence. No birthdays, no holidays, no "how are you?" It was like I'd been erased. 3 years later, after finishing a community college degree in business, I finally felt free. I'd moved 3 towns away, built a small marketing business using library Wi-Fi, and rented a cheap studio apartment. Then last month, everything came full circle. My face ended up on a billboard off Route 9. The local Chamber of Commerce had chosen me for a young entrepreneur spotlight after I helped a few small stores triple their online sales during COVID. It wasn't national fame, but to me, it was proof. Proof that I wasn't the spare, that I mattered. 2 hours after the billboard went up, my mom texted, "Is that your face on Route 9? Yeah, it was. 2 hours later, my dad called. I didn't pick up. Then came voicemails from Nathan, from relatives who hadn't spoken to me in years. Suddenly, everyone was warm, proud, curious. I didn't respond, because I knew exactly why they were reaching out. They hadn't changed, they just saw something they wanted. The next day, my mom called again and left a voicemail. "We're going through a rough patch. Nathan and his wife might lose their apartment. Do you still have that spare room you mentioned once?" I laughed out loud. That spare room didn't exist. I own the entire house now outright in cash. I didn't reply. Not that day, not the next, not even when my Aunt Janice messaged me on Facebook saying, "It would mean a lot to the family if you stepped up right now." Stepped up. Where were they when I was sleeping in a bus shelter? It's funny people use the word family like it's a magic eraser. Like blood erases years of cruelty. I stayed silent, didn't block them, didn't lash out, just silence until a week later. I came home from a client meeting and saw a silver Honda Civic parked across the street, the same one my parents used to drive. And there she was, my mother, sitting on my porch with a Tupperware container probably full of guilt-flavored banana bread. When I stepped out of my car, she stood up. "Oh my God, you look wonderful," she said, arms opening for a hug. I didn't move. "Why are you here, Mom?" I asked, my voice calm. She smiled like this was just a friendly surprise visit. "I wanted to see you. It's been so long. I thought maybe we could talk, catch up." "Is Nathan okay?" I asked. Her face faltered, and that told me everything. "He and Alyssa lost their apartment," she said softly. "The baby's on the way, and they just need a place for a little while." Your father thought maybe we could all stay here just until they get back on their feet. I almost laughed. You kicked me out with a trash bag and a note, I said slowly. I begged you to listen, and you told me to learn something from it. And now you want to move into my house, for the son you threw me away for? She blinked, stunned. It was complicated back then, she said defensively. We were doing what we thought was best. No, I cut in. You were doing what was easiest. You believed Nathan because it was convenient, because it kept your life tidy. For the first time, I saw shame cross her face, but it was brief. Well, look how things turned out, she said weakly. You've done so well for yourself. Maybe it wasn't such a bad thing after all. That line hit me harder than I expected. They'd thrown me away and now wanted credit for it. You're not coming inside, I said, my voice steady. And you can tell Dad and Nathan there's no spare room here. She opened her mouth, probably to guilt-trip me one last time. You're being selfish, she finally said. I paused, turned back toward her, and smiled. No, Mom. I'm just done being useful to people who only remember I exist when they need something. Then I closed the door. She didn't knock again. That night, I lay in bed replaying everything, the nerve it took for her to show up, the false concern, the audacity to call me selfish. For a moment, guilt crept in. That old, familiar ache that whispered, maybe you're the bad one now. But then I remembered the day Nathan lied about me hitting him, how she cried over him, how she never even looked at me, just assumed I was guilty. I remembered the night I was dragged out of my own home, the trash bag, the silence. I owed them nothing. Still, I wasn't looking for revenge, I just wanted truth. So I wrote a message, not to them, but to my entire extended family. To the aunts, uncles, cousins, the ones who'd heard their side for years. The ones who thought I was rebellious, angry, ungrateful. I told them everything about the crash, the lie, the trash bag, the years of silence, the banana bread visit, and I even attached a screenshot of the text Nathan had sent me years ago, bragging about how easy it had been to get rid of me. Then I hit send. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid. It took about an hour for the family group chat to explode, and for once I didn't feel like the background character anymore. I'd muted that family group chat years ago, so when my phone suddenly started buzzing nonstop, I almost didn't look. But curiosity won. Aunt Marie, is this real? I never knew any of this happened to you. Uncle Leo, your parents said you ran away. They said you were on drugs. Cousin Denise, I always wondered why you disappeared. I'm so sorry. That message from Nathan is disgusting. Text after text kept coming. Shock, guilt, sympathy. Some were awkward, unsure, people trying to apologize without fully knowing how. But that didn't bother me. I hadn't written my message to get sympathy. I'd written it so the truth would finally exist somewhere outside my head. Then came the last name I expected to see, Alyssa, Nathan's wife. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. He told me you were unstable, that you attacked your mom and your grandmother had to take you in. I feel sick. I just stared at the message, unsure how to respond. Then she sent another one. I left him last night. My breath caught. She told me she'd read my email out loud to Nathan. He laughed at first. Then he got defensive, then furious. He grabbed her phone, tried to delete the message, and called her naive for believing me. Alyssa, 7 months pregnant, finally saw him for what he was. She packed a bag, left for her sister's house, and didn't look back. She told me my message had snapped something in her. That she finally saw the pattern and wanted her baby to grow up in peace, not manipulation. I didn't gloat. I just told her quietly, you did the right thing. That should have been the end of it. But Nathan had never been good at letting go of control. 3 days later, I was walking out of my favorite coffee shop, sipping my drink when I heard someone call my name. I turned. Nathan was standing there. He looked hollow. Unshaven, eyes sunken, still wearing that same old varsity jacket, like he was clinging to the last time he'd been important. So, he sneered, stepping closer. You think you're better than me now? I said nothing. You've always played the victim, he spat. Now what? You want everyone to pity you? Think anyone cares about your sob story? His breath reeked of cheap beer. You lied, I said softly. He laughed bitterly. So what? You survived, didn't you? You've got your big house and your cute little billboard, so stop crying. There was so much I wanted to say. I wanted to scream about the nights I cried myself to sleep, the birthdays I spent alone, the years I questioned my worth because of him. But I didn't, because he wanted a scene. So I stepped around him, opened my car door, and said quietly, you lied, I thrived, and now you get to live with that. Then I left him standing there in the parking lot of a coffee shop with nothing but his bitterness. That evening I had dinner with my grandmother, the only person who never needed proof to believe in me. I told her everything. The email, the messages running into Nathan. She just listened, calm and quiet, hands folded in her lap. When I finished, she reached across the table and held my hand. "You did good," she said simply, and somehow that was enough. A week later, I received a certified letter from my parents' lawyer. They were considering legal action for defamation over my email. I laughed. Loudly, my own lawyer, yes, I finally had one, told me not to worry. Their accusations were baseless. The evidence I had, including Nathan's own messages, would bury them if they tried. They went silent again. No calls, no emails, no visits. Because once I stopped being useful, I disappeared again. That's when I decided to do something symbolic. I found the note they'd left on that trash bag the night they kicked me out. "You're on your own now. Learn something from this." I framed it. It hangs on my office wall now, right next to my Chamber of Commerce award. Some people hang diplomas. I framed a warning and turned it into a promise. Spare, that's what he called me once. The spare child, the extra. A ghost in family photos, a name whispered only after what's wrong with her. But here's the cruel thing about being a spare. Spare parts get reused. And that's exactly what they tried to do, recycle me. It started again with a knock. Not a voicemail, not a message. A knock right after dusk. I almost didn't open the door, but something inside me, maybe instinct, told me to. It wasn't my mother this time. It was my father, but not the man I remembered. The confident, dismissive voice was gone. He stood there in a threadbare sweater, eyes tired, holding a thick envelope. "I'm signing the house over to you," he said quietly, avoiding my eyes. "Your grandmother said you've earned it more than any of us." That's when I knew something was wrong. "She's sick," he added finally. "Stage 4, cancer." We sat in silence on the same porch where my mother had once begged for a spare room. He didn't try to manipulate me. He didn't argue. He just looked small. "She didn't want to tell you," he murmured. "She said she was proud." That word hit me harder than anything else could have. I looked out at the garden she and I planted last spring, lavender, rosemary, marigolds. She called it her living prayer. 3 weeks later, she was gone. At home, my home, the house they said I didn't deserve, I held her hand until her breathing faded. She wasn't scared. She just whispered, "Promise me you'll plant something new every spring. That's how you start again." Then she was gone. But she left me something I never expected, a final truth. Under her bed, inside a small wooden box, I found a letter and a stack of journals. Her handwriting neat, slanted, familiar. To the granddaughter they never saw. Inside were pages documenting everything. The forgotten birthdays, the bruises, the lies, the way Nathan staged every accusation. The way my mother whispered that I was a mistake when she thought no one was listening. Proof, all of it. And beneath those papers, a notarized deed. Her house left entirely to me. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't heartbroken, but because her last act wasn't born of grief, it was justice. The funeral was small. I kept it that way intentionally. No open invitation, no grand family performance, just people who knew how to stand in silence without rewriting the past. But of course they came anyway. Nathan, my mother, standing off to the side in black as if that color could hide their history. After the final prayer, my mother approached. She didn't cry. She just looked around, the house, the garden, the community that had become my family. Then she asked, "Is it true? Did she really leave it all to you?" I looked her straight in the eye. "Yes." That night they left a letter on my doorstep, typed, formal, soulless. A request for temporary accommodation during this time of healing and transition. They wanted to move in, to her house. The same house they'd abandoned her in when she took me in. I sat with their letter for a long time. Then I wrote one back, "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Turner, thank you for your interest in residing at 49 Maplewood Lane. At this time, all rooms are currently occupied. By peace, by dignity, by long overdue silence, and by the scent of lavender. Therefore, we are unable to accommodate guests who abandon these values in the past. May you find shelter in the structures you built with your choices. Kind regards, the spare no more." I posted it online, and it went viral. Not because it was vengeful, but because it was honest. People shared it, stitched it, messaged me, not for drama, but because they understood. Because there are so many of us. So many spares who were actually the engines keeping everything running. Today I walked through my grandmother's garden, and I planted something new just as I promised her. A single white rose bush, its name, rebirth. And this time the story doesn't end with exile or bitterness. It ends with roots, because I am not a spare. I am the seed that survived. Thank you for listening to my story. And if you've ever been someone's extra, remember, spares don't stay spares forever. Some of us grow into everything they said we couldn't be. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a comment, hit subscribe, follow for more, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next one.